Senior developers are not hired to write clever code, but to build systems that won't break at 3 AM. And during last 10 years, I saw lots of developers who were focusing just on making their code more complicated and smart, instead of satisfying the business needs. This is why by the end of this video, on the real examples, you will see what you should do to become a real senior. And here is the first real task that you might have. We need to build a Redis for caching in our application. How a developer can do it without thinking? We can just add caching to the user in order to avoid fetching it from the database. What can go wrong here? First of all, Redis can go down. Secondly, when are we doing caching validation? How much memory do we need there? And here is the code which covers these cases and makes it more stable. We obviously need to use try catch in order to make sure that our code does not break. Secondly, we think about timeout of the Redis and always use a database query as a fallback. Additionally to that, we don't want to block our response. This is why we make an update asynchronously. So you need to start thinking this way. Instead of just implementing feature, you need to think about constraints and what can go wrong. And this is exactly what we're doing in my middle to senior front-end bootcamp, where I am teaching you exactly what senior developer must know. The next important skill that you must have as a senior is be able to read code fast and fluently. The main point is that you will spend lots of time reviewing code or checking the code from the AI, so it makes a lot of sense to be able to understand what code does in seconds and seeing problems in seconds. Let's have a look here. Here is a code which you can see in a real production system. So we're processing our payment, we're changing the balance of the user, saving the user, and charging the card. And on the first glance, it might even look correct. But the real bug here is a race condition, because as you can see, first of all, between checking a balance and saving, another transaction could occur. Secondly, we're doing it completely wrong, because first of all, we're updating the balance of the user, and then we're charging it through payment system. Which actually means if payment failed, then we already deducted that amount. And here how this code can look on the senior level. First of all, we're doing find and update in one go, not in 2 requests. Secondly, we're doing a charge, so we can do rollback later if it fails. And only after that we're committing the transaction. And obviously we want to catch an error to abort a transaction and return correct error message, so it is clear for our system what the problem is. Let's look on another production problem. Here we have a memory leak, and you need to really spot it fast. So what is the problem? We have our user activity tracker with event emitter, and we have on and track action. But here on the bottom, as you can see, every single time when we're creating a tracker, we leak memory, because we're creating an instance of user activity, which in turn subscribes to the listener and never removes it. How we can fix it? Easily by adding a destroy method, which must remove our listener, which we already created. This is why on finish, we need to destroy our tracker. And if you just want to improve the skill, you can simply either communicate with the AI to get a lot of code from it that you can read and find bugs there, or simply check some repositories, either at your work or on GitHub. Simply take some wrappers that are interesting for you and try to understand the code there. First of all, you will see different practices, and you might even spot bugs or only code with happy scenarios. The next important skill is to know how to communicate with product owner, for example, or your stakeholders, especially when we're talking about money here. Because sometimes you can get a question, we want to use this specific database, does it make really sense, will it help us or not? So here how you typically need to structure your thoughts before you present an answer. Let's say we want to select a database. Instead of just going and saying, I want Postgres because it's awesome or I know how to work with that, we need to write some criteria that we evaluate. For example, we need a database for user analytics, and we want to store 50 million user events per day with the 30-day window. We could use here, for example, Postgres, which is great because Steam knows it. It is good for time queries and we know the cost. On the other hand, we can use MongoDB, but we know that, for example, aggregation queries are slow there. And as another alternative, we can use ClickHouse, which is built specifically for analytics, and it costs less, but we have a learning curve here. So our recommendation is to go with Postgres, because we can migrate there in one sprint, and if it fails, we can roll back easily. So here you are not simply saying that you want this technology because it is awesome and you like it, but you have an exact plan why, and typically you won't get any objections because you clearly stated all possible pain points. The next skill is really important for senior developers. You typically will mentor other people, or other people will ask you about some problems. And I saw it lots of times because it is always back and forth, and every single half of an hour you are getting another question, and then you can't finish your own work, and you are getting frustrated simply because you don't know how to mentor people correctly. And this is also an important skill for a senior developer. Most importantly, you need to teach person how to debug their code in just a simple set of steps, and then the amount of questions that you will get will be much smaller. If you simply go and fix the bug for the person every single time, it just won't help a person and he will ask you again and again. Instead of that, what you can do is the simple list. So when you are getting a question that something is not working, instead of showing what exactly is not working, you ask person to debug it step by step. Like for example, log data here, check if we are getting to this function, understand if we are getting all fields from the database where we need, and how we can optimize this code. Additional to that, I can highly recommend you to make some rules, like for example, you can be disturbed only once per hour or per 2 hours. Then person will have time to fix bug on its own and try something instead of directly asking you every single time. One more important skill, which is often neglected, is how we're treating accidents. If something is broken, we can easily fix it or restart, especially when we're talking about Docker containers or servers. If something was broken and we just restart and it continues working, nobody cares. And this is the wrong approach, because if it broke once, it will break again. So if you have a failed payment and you didn't debug it, but you just restarted a payment system and it works now, this is the wrong approach. What you want to do instead, first, before restarting, you want to check some logs. After this, it makes sense to check memory and CPU, because these are typically problems when server goes down. It also makes sense to check the state of the current application and see if we were getting any warnings of this situation beforehand. And only after documenting all these things, we can restart the server, because if you collected some information, then you can easily fix the bug. And here is the example that you can see in the production system. Let's say we have a webhooks and we were simply pushing them again and again. The main problem here is that we were increasing the webhooks array without cleaning it, which means it will grow indefinitely and at some point get out of memory. So after 2 days, the server will go down, then you will restart it, everything will be fine, and in 2 days you will have exactly the same problem. So it is extremely important not just restart whatever is not working, but understand why it is not working. And the last point that I want to share with you is important for you if you want to get more money, because you are getting some talks, like at least once per year, with your manager to show what you've done in a year and if you have some progress to get more money. The main point to understand here is that writing better code does not lead to more money. You need to show that you made better decisions which lead to business outcomes. So if you are talking with your manager, not with the technical person, you want to talk in money, not in code. Instead of simply saying that you optimize some query from 800 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds, you need to say that you optimized search query so users get response faster, and we have 40% reduction of our server cost, which leads, for example, to 2,000 month savings. Or for example, you optimized the loading of the page, which leads to a better user experience. And it is extremely important to be prepared for your yearly reviews, because you want to show exactly what you did, and the list should be long. When you are coming there unprepared and you are saying, yeah, I wrote some code this year, it doesn't make a great impression and you probably won't get more money. And if you're serious about becoming a senior developer and learning everything from passing the interview, algorithms, architectural knowledge, and much more, I highly recommend you to check my middle to senior frontend bootcamp, where I'm teaching exactly that. You can find the link to it under the video.